Hey, this is Mo Lunsford at Union Grove Lumber Studios.
And this is the Shed Geek. We want to welcome you to today's episode. Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Shed Geek podcast. Excuse me. So what happens whenever you shovel some food down for lunch.
That's right.
Get to it. Cord, you have been on the Shed Geek podcast before. Tell us a little bit about like your introduction to the shed industry. Let's start there.
Yeah. So, yes, I've been on the podcast before. Formerly, I was the national marketing sales director for HHO Carbon Clean Systems. So we'd come on and had a conversation, kind of primarily talking to shed haulers, really, I suppose, because HHO is a fleet maintenance company. And so that was kind of enlightening, eye-opening, just to have that conversation and kind of realize the breadth and the depth of the shed industry. But, still I was just very, very much like dipping my toes in the water. And so now I've had the opportunity to go and work with Dylan Street at Shed Geek Marketing, Guerrilla Marketing. I've worked with him for several years. He's done all of our advertising and production and all the stuff that I'm no good at. And so hopefully, I guess he thought, well, maybe Cord can come on and do some of the things that I am good at. So, but it's worked out, and so I'm now in week 3, I suppose, and it is bigger and badder and more of a behemoth than what I realized just dipping my toes in, talking to shed haulers. It's really kind of hard to wrap your head around sometimes.
It's kind of cool. There's only a couple companies that do what you guys did when you were there at HHO, the Carbon Clean System. And it's kind of funny. We went to the shed hauler event out in North Carolina, and I think like the other company just happened to be friends with Sam Byler.
Right.
One of the guys happened to know him, showed up there, did like a demo on his product. But I think he was like, yeah, we had initially wanted to work with HHO. And then I think they ended up, and I was like, man, what a small world, And for those of the guys who haven't went back and listened to that episode, that's just a really neat product, a really neat idea. And it's so unconventional.
Yeah.
In its
novel
approach. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And a ton of value. And yeah, it's kind of, weird or serendipitous or a grace, the grace of God, hard to say which in which measure sometimes. But, yes. So, I mean, the kind of other side of the carbon removal, engine carbon cleaning, industry is effectively out there in Charlotte, which like overlaps with like a huge piece of sheds. We were talking last week, you and I, about the overlap then between obviously the shed industry in West Kentucky and Ohio, along with quilts, or Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Pennsylvania.
Quilts
Lancaster.
with Pennsylvania. And, it's kind of funny to think that like these sort of big behemoth industries have like these little nodes that just so happen to like overlap in the few places. It's just kind of, living in rural America, and thinking about kind of how economics and commerce works, outside of the cities. And then to realize that like all these kind of like rule based, get your hands dirty, like do something businesses seem to all like flock together out in the countryside, the same way that other businesses flock together in the cities and things.
You hear like small business is the backbone of America so often, but whenever you live it and like realize it and see how all of them kind of work together, and you say, where would those two industries kind of meet? And it's funny that the personalities, the people, in some cases even still meet these people way, way over here. And you're like, oh yeah, well, we travel a lot. So like we go through here. And then, of course, those conversations turn to bigger things like, well, when we go through, we eat here. Oh, it's my favorite restaurant.
Right.
Oh, I do this. It's like, I was out in Colorado this last year, and because I'm nosy, I stopped at a shed company and I see on the side of their truck, like Harrisburg, Illinois. And I was like, what? I was like, I'm 19 hours from home.
Oh, yeah. All the way across Kansas. I've made that drive, and it is.
I'm just trying to figure it out. I'm like, what on earth? So I'd start talking to the people and make all the connections. That's cool to me. Yeah. That's cool to me.
Big
like
time.
Any kind of small business like that. And that's sort of where you, I don't know, your role at Shed Geek Marketing and sort of like what you'll be doing, what you'll be focusing on. I don't know. I don't know if you have a title, but we'd call you a lot of things, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Most hopefully good to my face.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
absolutely.
no, yeah, so I don't know that we've arrived on like a title. I think my primary roles will be like brand strategy, kind of establishing, that starts with all your kind of really high level stuff, right? I mean, it starts with the name, it starts with the logo, it starts with colors, it starts with, mission, vision, statements, things like that. But I don't know. I hate putting it in those boxes. I went to school for marketing, and that was very much like the formulaic way. But I think to me it is really coming up with like, where's the opportunity, where's the strategy right now, how do we match the rest of that, right? And some people work it in the other direction. Some people kind of already know what they want to call something or how they want it to look and sound and feel beforehand. But like my experience is that identifying the opportunity, and most people have identified that opportunity and then just not really like connected it with like how their brand is then portrayed. Right. That a lot of that happens, right? I mean, you like these colors or you like this style or this one sign that you saw and things like that. So, and I mean, that's just really initial stuff, but, and then connecting all that all the way down through the cool stuff that Dylan and Wyatt do as far as the actual integrations, automations, the SMX, the email, and really carrying that kind of core messaging all the way through. What is your core value, the benefit to your customer, and then, how do we sort of headline that whenever we know we're only going to get 2.4 seconds worth of someone's attention, right? How do we headline that out? And so anyway, brand strategy, probably some like business development type of stuff, and then getting my hands dirty in actual integrations and automations, and because I really want to make sure that I'm understanding. I want to push all the way out to what is the edge of this capability of this technology today, so that in the sort of strategy discussions that I'm having, like, let's be out on the bleeding edge of what's possible, so that we start from a position of strength, and then obviously we want to stay on top of it. But let's push the limits of how much value we can really squeeze out of all these systems.
Well, so much of it starts with for us. Now we're talking from our perspective here, because we are doing an internal podcast. And you know what, to be honest with you, to be fair to the audience, probably going to see some more of these, more monologues. Like we're going to do some story brand telling. There's no doubt. We're going to continue to travel. We're going to talk to people, but we are kind of growing in year 4, and you have to adapt.
And are touching those pieces of the internet, like, right? I mean, if you're kind of like, if there's a lot of internal understanding, which again, I'm a couple weeks in here, right? But from what I can tell, there is a lot of internal knowledge and understanding and seeing where the industry is going. And like, it feels just as valuable to me to share that sort of overview, those insights. I don't know. Of course, we're from our perspective, so maybe we say, of course, we're valuable.
Well, I guess, I don't know. I want to do more of those. We just bought a building, right? We just bought an old church.
Yep.
6,000 square feet, right? So like, we're going through the zoning stuff with the city where my son and his buddies can live in it. Down in the bottom, create sort of like a dormitory style. I mean, he's 20 years old. All he really needs is a fridge and some milk, I think, so like, I don't know. He doesn't need a lot.
Limited plumbing. And, like a 110 outlet, and he'll be fine.
Yeah, like literally, he's got 2 outlets in the room. I was like, well, we'll see about getting some more. And he's like, I'm good. And I was like, well, we don't want to burn the place down. But outside of that, thank you for being low maintenance.
Right.
But it's just, and then the office is upstairs. And who knows, maybe we can grow into that space. But I'm super excited to have been able to do that because, for me, I live in Metropolis.
Yep.
We bought in Metropolis. I mean, Paducah is neighboring. It's right next door. We love it. We're here a lot, but it just feels good to kind of be moving forward in that direction and have that in our hometown. So like, that's adding value back through the processes that we've rolled out into the shed industry. But I'm excited to see where that's going to go. Like, where is that going to be cubicle land? Are we creating a bullpen? Is that going to be? I don't know what's going to exist from that yet, but
introducing Shed Hub, your ultimate shed marketplace. Are you in the shed business and looking to connect with more buyers? Look no farther than Shed Hub. Shed Hub is a game-changing, two-sided marketplace that brings shed sellers and buyers together in one easy-to-use platform. Think of it as the Amazon of sheds. Shed Hub isn't just any ordinary marketplace. It's a powerhouse that ranks on the first page of Google's search results in 91% of U.S. cities. With over 1.2 million impressions on our website last month alone, Shed Hub is where you want to be to showcase your sheds to a wider audience. And here's the best part. For a limited time, you can join our exclusive Next 500 plan for just $39 per month. Simply head over to geek.shedhub.com to sign up and start attracting more shoppers to your shed listings. As the Shed Geek, I am here to endorse Shed Hub and invite you to join me on this journey to boost your shed business. Whether you're struggling with website visibility or simply want more eyes on your product, Shed Hub has got you covered. Don't miss out on this opportunity to supercharge your shed sales. Visit geek.shedhub.com today and make your mark in the shed industry with Shed Hub. I share that story on social media. I share it on the podcast, because I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
Because we're moving in some kind of direction. We're creating action to move in a very intentional way in the shed industry further. I don't see any reason that we're going to pack up shop and just leave now, even if there was no podcast, which, that's going great too, right? Our listener count's still really good. I'm excited about that. We've got Jared and the Steel Kings coming on in March. So we're going to roll out a focus on the steel side.
Yes, very exciting.
Yep. We've got our main sponsor for that lined out already. We've got I don't know. It's going to be fun because these do overlap. Sheds and carports, and me and Jared's talked about it extensively. Like but who's casting vision for it moving forward on what it's going to look like?
Well, and again, right? I mean, when I think about those things, my brain just works this way. I always want to just original opportunity, right? And, yes, they are separate industries when you think through manufacturers, although I know a lot of the dealers wind up being the same. But, the different supply channels and I'm sure that internally both industries sort of like to see themselves separately. But the original opportunity here is what is in the consumer's mind. And I guarantee you that consumers see a problem in their yard or property, right? Right? You know what I mean? Like a consumer just sees a problem. A consumer sees that, whatever it is, a place for a lawnmower, right? Right. I need storage. Right. And storage. So, obviously that needs walls if you're truly storing something, right? If it doesn't need walls if you're parking your lawnmower under a carport. But to me, I think that the consumer starts out with a problem, and probably at least some of the time due to like kind of poor messaging or poor design on like how you actually try and pull that consumer through a pipeline. If you're spending, you need to be spending on these like pipeline activities, by the way. But depending on how that goes, I would say that some consumers probably solve their problem with what is not the best solution.
Oh yeah, that's good.
You know what I mean? Like all they see is the problem.
Yeah.
Now who gets in front of them?
Yeah.
And so like these industries are more deeply connected. Now, you start scaling up and then you wind up in like full metal sided barns and things like, obviously that then you're solving a different problem, right? Yeah. Like now that's more of, development almost, right? You're talking about, but a lot of these problems originate in a consumer's mind. And I guarantee you can get pulled down a path with a search query into Facebook or because you were the last brand named outdoor building solution that they saw on Facebook or, and so anyway, I think that it makes sense. It has to make sense because ultimately if we're offering value as Shed Geek Marketing to our customers, manufacturers and dealers in the shed and soon to be metal industries, like the value itself has to be derived from that consumer, right? So like we have to think through those things. So anyway, that's sort of my look at it.
No, I hear what you're saying. I think back about my own journey sometimes about like how engaged I was in selling, but was I always offering the best solution for the customer? I mean, it's you got to be very vulnerable to admit that.
Yeah.
But I mean, how many times did I come back and have somebody say, you should have sold me a bigger shed, for instance, like you just, I was like, well, I didn't ask enough questions to kind of understand what they did. Or, Chris Voss has a book called Never Split the Difference. And he talks about, he's got a company called the Black Swan Group. One of the things I remember taking specifically away from it was if you are a pond full of swans, white swans, and you are a black swan, you don't notice the problem. And to suggest that there's a problem because there's one,
right?
You know what I mean? Swan of a different color among
right.
the rest of these. It's not necessarily a problem, but it could at least be the most obvious thing,
right?
Whether it's a problem or not. Like, hey, anybody could walk up and say, well, what's that one black swan doing in the midst of these thousands of white swans, or vice versa?
But the black swan is just squawking and
thinks he's just
right.
part of the other thousand that's there.
Yeah, right.
But the obvious thing to everyone else is obviously that there's a black swan in the middle of these thousands of white swans. And it stuck with me so much so that it's a focus I try to take at every angle of business. It's like, what's the obvious thing here? Whether it's a problem or whether it's an obvious good thing.
Right.
You talk about being a brand ambassador. Like, what's working well? What are you guys doing that's going so good that other people need to mimic that?
Right.
Potentially, or, if they can.
Or you need to continue to maximize.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and what is, I think so much of like these opportunities, brand advantages, so many of those things come down to like just little bitty insights into psychology or sociology or whatever else. I mean, oh goodness gracious. We were just talking about it last night. Now I'm going to forget which one. Which of these like branding icons, right? I don't remember if it was the Coca-Cola Santa or we were talking through a bunch of them. Actually, several people in my family are in marketing and sales. But the point that was it was Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, right? Because effectively, I forget if it was Sears or my aunt was telling me this, they would hand out little books that were like little cartoons, kid-friendly cartoons for like children to read while their parents were shopping, right? So they're like sitting in a cart, right? The psychology inference there is like parents will buy more if their child is like quietly sitting in the cart and they can just shop, right?
Yeah,
if their child does not cause the ruckus that runs you out of the store or hastens you, or you decide, you know what, we'll buy it next weekend. But my point is like so many like big advantages that companies hold come from like tiny psychological insights, right? Yeah. Which is, Steve Jobs, which this is kind of just like pure marketing, but I mean, he was personally the person who said 1,000 songs in your pocket.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it's the psychology of how people think about things. And I
like the comedian Bill Burr, and little off color for the audience, just so you know.
Sometimes, most of the
extremely
time,
off color, but occasionally he'll have some stuff come across, a reel or something that I'll listen to, and it's fairly clean. But so, what did Steve Jobs actually do? It's he asked that question. He's like, seriously, never been a fan of the guy. Like, what did he actually do? Like, didn't everybody else do the work and he took the credit?
Basically, I mean, he had like the little insights and I think,
but he was the brand. I mean,
he was the brand.
They brought him back. He was so much a part of the brand. They brought him back eventually.
He was the philosophy. Yeah. He was the communication, right? But I think. I just think there is so much of that road to be run, earth to be tread within the shed industry, because all of these things that people know work on the ground, add a lot, right? Mm-hmm. Like as this industry continues to modernize, mm-hmm. continues to digitize, like all of those opportunities just multiply, right? Like now you're saying here is a real piece of insight to why we are so good at, building sheds or getting dealers or selling sheds or certain finance programs, right? Like all these insights are out there within the industry. Yeah. And like each one of those insights multiplies when you say, how many people can I touch with that value, right?
Are you ready to elevate your shed business to new heights? Your pathway to success just got a whole lot smoother with ShedSuite's innovative marketing platform. At ShedSuite, we like to think we understand the shed industry at least a little bit. And over the last 7 years, we've been building awesome software for shed businesses. We focus first on building easy-to-use software to help you create and track orders, like the point of sale and after-the-sale order fulfillment. And now we're excited to announce our full-feature CRM, all things pre-sale, like prospecting and follow-up, all to empower your shed company to market better and sell more efficiently. Our platform empowers you with a marketing toolkit designed to amplify your online presence, engage your audience, and drive sales like never before. Enjoy the ease of conversion tracking, email marketing, centralized lead communication, and so much more. Oh, and guess what? It even comes with an iPhone and an Android app. With ShedSuite's marketing platform, crafting and deploying effective marketing campaigns is a breeze. The advanced reporting functionality allows your team to analyze real-time conversion data so you can make informed decisions and watch your business flourish. There's no better time than now to join the community of shed business owners who are scaling up with ShedSuite. It's time to turn your marketing efforts into real trackable results. Visit shedsuite.com/marketing to get pricing, explore the features, and book a demo. ShedSuite is committed to building top quality software to empower your shed business to thrive.
I like to do this almost as I've done this recently in a peer group setting type conversation. But I'm going to try this here on an individual level. And I don't know all of your past as far as like what you've done for work
right
in the past, but I don't have to know because I'm just going to be curious at like how you respond. And I would ask the audience to actively participate where you are right now too in that moment. Think of these things as I do this exercise with Cord as though I'm doing this with you. I want you to tell me either a phrase or a word or a few words that just come to mind whenever I mention what I mention. Coyote tractors?
Trace Adkins. Now, that's probably different for me because the biggest Coyote dealer in the nation was in Metropolis, Illinois when I was growing up.
Yeah.
So like I immediately see James Little tractor, and I see Trace Adkins, right? But I think like obviously the consumer perception is like plastic. You know what I mean? Like if you say Coyote, I think most people would say plastic.
Kubota.
Diesel, right? Heavy. You know what I mean? Like, and obviously the irony is that they make a lot of this, like they have tractors out there that are identical, but like, is there a more reliable diesel engine than a Kubota diesel?
International.
Tractor. So, I mean, that's my family was a Case IH farm, so like that makes me think of like heavy, long lasting.
John Deere.
Expensive. Green. You know what I mean? And again, we were a Case IH farm. So like I see John Deere's as like this thing that was never attainable to us, right? Like we were Case IH and you wind up embracing that. But like the fact was like we couldn't buy a brand new John Deere tractor on a, 500 acre farm.
Yeah. No, I love doing these exercises for this reason.
Right.
We'll go through another one. And then I think I'll have a point at the end of this. We'll
okay.
see.
Yeah, sure.
ExxonMobil.
I just, that makes me think of gold, man. That makes me think of like a standard. I know a lot of people associate Exxon with a really kind of bad connotation, and maybe so, but like they get it done,
BP, British Petroleum.
Definitely, I have a brand association that's much more friendly. Now that's a green and blue brand, right? So they want you to see them as more friendly. I get a more friendly vibe out of a BP than I do at Exxon.
Hux.
Oh, hometown, hometown. That's like the good folks. You know what I mean? They're cooking fried chicken and serving it up, right? Like, that type of thing.
Buc-ee's.
Oh, goodness. Fantastic. You're not going to find. In fact, I had to drive to Orlando for a conference, and I stopped on the north side of Atlanta and the south side of Atlanta at both Buc-ee's in only a 3-hour difference. Like, there was no reason that I needed to stop. I'm a Buc-ee's fan. I mean, that is customer service. It is so intuitive. I mean, the layout of the whole place just like lets you know what you want. Okay, sorry. I feel like I'm like expounding.
No, you're good.
I'm only supposed to do a couple words.
These are the mental exercises, knowing and unknowingly, that people go through whenever they think of a place. It is literally what causes someone to go. Like, Buc-ee's has a sign, for instance, that says only 100 miles to go. And there's literally some people that be like, we'll wait to get fuel and food 100%. When we get there because of the experience, clean bathrooms, jerky wall, right? Like all the stuff,
deep psychology working on you at Buc-ee's.
Deep psychology. Yeah,
Big
for
time.
sure. Now, this is a little less invasive approach to me. And you're a pretty mechanical guy, but most people might not think like this. But if I were to say, Kawasaki, and let's roll off of these pretty quick.
Yeah, sure.
Pretty quick.
All right.
Kawasaki.
Longevity.
Suzuki.
Fast.
Honda.
Oh, reliable.
All
value.
Harley Davidson.
Powerful.
All the things that come to my mind for the most part on those things. So, but can a Suzuki that's fast be reliable like a Honda?
Of course it can. It can, right? Like in reality, but that's not what we're playing in, right? Like,
yeah.
And to your point, I like those kind of exercises, and it's valuable for those brands to do that in the same way that like we should be A/B testing stuff digitally, but it is that whatever you can get across to the consumer in that sort of whatever the top of mind, the 2.4 second time frame, that you actually have their attention, you know, whatever can like quickly get across is so valuable. And, you know, one of the things I really think about the shed industry, just from, again, viewing from the outside and taking my own experience. I was actually, I was in lawn and garden. So I've done marketing and sales for tractors and lawnmowers and outdoor products, steel and Husqvarna, chainsaws and power tools. And so I've been in this like sort of space. Yeah. And you know, the thing that I see is that there is so much room for those like trusted brands to really kind of grow and steer the ship in a lot of ways. Right. And it's hard to not put the cart before the horse, you know, like how does,
was that an Amish joke?
well, no, or the chicken and the egg or
I know at least 100 Amish people that are laughing right now for that. Right. Appreciate you guys.
But it's, sometimes it's easy to kind of not realize which is which, but, you know, which came first? The fact that Stihl chainsaws had created such a reputation for itself, that they were just the best, hands down the best. Everybody knew it, they were the best. So their dealers wanted to start putting 40-foot signs up out at the road, right? I think that's the story they would want to tell you. I'll tell you the story that's a heck of a lot more likely is Stihl spent the money to say, we are the best. Everybody knows we're the best, right? Like they did a heck of a job on branding. Yeah. And their products are great. Like, yeah. I mean, everything I own is Stihl.
Well, they're certainly because you know, I bought a Shindawa at one point.
Right.
You know, I think Honda whenever I think Shindawa.
Yeah,
right.
Right.
You know, like long lasting, can't wear the motor out, you know, reliable,
right,
kind of thing. But, you know, you will not find a more American exceptionalism type product.
Right.
Than like Stihl.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
It's in your face.
Big time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, they're huge American network and but you know, brand that started in Germany. You know what I'm saying? Like, but like basically all of the distribution and part of the manufacturer has been moved over. And anyway, they actually have a huge facility over in Marble Hill in Missouri. And so we were part of that dealer network, and they're awesome over there. But anyway, my point is, you know, what I see is that a fragmented industry with so much potential for that sort of brand strategy implementation. You know, I mean, from what I can tell, at least the customers that I have dealt with so far and seen through Shed Geek Marketing, I mean, we are dealing with like people who build really high quality. I mean, we're dealing with people who have established some kind of manufacturing facility, right? They obviously want to build them to a high quality to last. Yeah. You know, we're not dealing with Lowe's and, you know, Costco right? Like our customers are real folks out here doing a real job. They all build them really, really high quality. They're all built to a good spec. They all can last if they are maintained right. So to me, it's just like who can continue to consolidate that sort of brand identity within the consumer mind, I guess is my thing.
Are you a dealer who sells multiple products at your shed lot? Are you tired of sifting through clunky or overcomplicated softwares to simply sell a product? If so, it's time to call Cal. Consumer Aligned Logistics is the affordable, simplified, and scalable solution for your shed, carport, or even RTO company. We are partnered with Idea Room and Shed Pro for configurators and have multiple RTO partners to choose from JMag to Heartland to Shed Geek Rentals and Scott's RTO. And if your partner isn't listed here, just ask. We are happy to add more. Give us a call at 425-359-3279 or visit calcanhelp.com. That's CALCANHELP.com.
What brand, I don't think I'll get in trouble here. What brand of shed company did you know a year ago or 2 years ago?
Well, I'm probably highly skewed because I grew up on on the third row at SIU basketball games, Southern Illinois University,
so Cook.
the Saluki. So it was Cook.
No doubt.
They had the all around the top, right?
I had one sitting at the Miners ballpark.
So like I'm highly skewed toward that,
Yeah.
but I think
All of us in Southern Illinois are, though, to be honest
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
they
know?
actually did a pretty good job, I think, branding, whether on purpose or accident.
Right.
Just here, if nothing else, they were first mover.
Yeah.
If nothing else, they seemed to be first mover in our community, and there just wasn't a whole lot of competing spaces out there.
And a ton of really creative, which I mean, buildings can be creative, right? I mean, I remember, it is like deeply ingrained in my mind. I was probably 8 or 10 years old, and they had the, instead of just having like a free throw shooting area up around the upper deck,
Yeah.
where they had kind of promotional stuff and you had vendors and stuff like that. Like instead of just doing, like a very simple, like sponsoring a free throw booth or whatever, right? Like you went into this, like it was a blow up shed. Obviously it wasn't a shed, like, but it's like a blow up shed that is shaped like a shed.
Yeah.
Right. And then you're like inside of you like step into a new world. Right. I mean, they were very creative with like, how do we bring unique experiences? They're ahead of their time, right? How do you bring unique experiences to in a promotional way? And yeah. So anyway,
Did you see this year the house they give away around here every year?
Dream Home giveaway.
Dream Home giveaway.
Right.
St. Jude.
St. Jude's, yeah.
St. Jude does it. And I just know from like the ownership or management structure over there at Stormore, one of the guys there, had cancer. So like they've partnered heavily with St. Jude.
Right.
Then on top of it, because this is a local thing now for those listening. This is a thing that's in our community where they have a home giveaway.
WPSD, St. Jude, Dream Home giveaway.
Yeah.
Every year,
Yeah.
really nice
Really nice home.
Yeah.
Buy your tickets, $100 a pop.
Yep.
And you got a chance to win this home. And then the proceeds all go to St. Jude or whatever.
Right.
Stormore partnered this year and decided we'll give away a shed with the home. And I
Very
saw it
good.
on local WPSD, and I was like, it's genius. Like for their branding in our community, in our area, and doing a good cause at the same time. Win-win.
Yes, 100%. 100%. And, I think, creativity and how you kind of express that brand strategy, brand voice, right? Like, I know just from what you've told me, I think there are maybe even an overrepresentation in the shed industry of people who are driven to do good work, do godly work, driven to, live their life in a way that betters their fellow man, right? And I think that's probably overrepresented. So many opportunities to sort of like express your sort of like brand strategy while also, right? Like, that's part of it, right? If that's who you are, that's who you are.
Right.
If that's if that's who the brand is, if that's the people that make it up and what gets you up every day to build the best darn shed for your, for your customer, that's part of it. So like talk about it, right? Express that, let your customer know, because again, customers are willing to purchase at a higher rate from brands that they feel like they know and trust, right? And so like open the doors up a little bit, allow the light in, be a little comfortable doing things like we're doing, right? And
you got to be
being on
vulnerable.
camera.
We had to be. Again, this started as a labor of love, but you still got to be vulnerable to go out and like my goal was I was so like infatuated with those that I got a chance to meet that I wanted to like, hey, we have this conversation anyway. Wouldn't it be cool to record this and like put it out to other people? And then of course you had to start getting to where you were like convincing people like you should come on because it helps other people's stories. Some are willing, some are a little bit more reluctant. At the end of the day, like no one to this point, nearly 300 episodes has come back to me and said, I regret doing that.
Right.
I mean, we let them hear it if they want to hear it first before it goes out. And, you know, everybody's always like, well, don't make me sound stupid. And I'm like, well, don't sound stupid and it won't happen.
Right.
Because, like, I can't control that part.
Right.
I mean, I'm preaching to myself here.
Right.
But it's just one of those things where I'm like, you know, how you sound when you're worried about like talking in front of people is how you sound all the time anyway.
Too. Yeah, right.
Just because you're not recording it doesn't mean it's not happening. You're just getting to dismiss your flaws. If you really want to see your flaws, start recording yourself, both video and listen back to your audio, and then start to either dissect that or let others do it, and you'll be really depressed because you're like, oh, I say too much, or I scratch my head every 3 seconds, or I do some weird stuff. I don't know why I do that. You do it all the time anyway.
Right.
Who you are.
But the point is that's genuine, right?
It's genuine. People respond to it.
And being genuine leads to higher engagement, more trust, and ultimately it leads to sales.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you know, like we're all here to do good work in our lives and do good work for others. But like, you know, like where the rubber meets the road here is like, this is what adds up to success.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a reason that, you know, Shed Geek Podcast has had success and but anyway, you know, it is just it's kind of being comfortable with doing some of that because it seems to me that those opportunities are just kind of glaring in the shed industry.
It's such a growth mode potential right now, and things are going to change. I mean, I still say you got people jockeying for like a national brand because, you know, this is where I was going with my exercises is like most people, you know, in my opinion, non-mechanical people, especially, you know, if you say Suzuki, Honda, Kawasaki, a lot of those just kind of run together.
Right.
You know, but when you say Harley Davidson,
oh, that's power, right?
Like they don't even have to know how to change the spark plugs,
right,
to understand what the brand Harley Davidson stands for.
Right.
Like you just kind of know.
Fast, bravado, right? Like, I mean, it's like powerful.
Yeah.
You know, and
I'm not saying that Kawasaki and Suzuki and that has created their own brand. And I bet if you're a mechanic, you have strong opinions on their brand.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like if you're a mechanic for Ford, Dodge, and Chevy, you know what I mean? Like you've got strong opinions. But I bet for the most part, most consumers, you know, just want what looks best and what rides the best. And you can win over someone in a sale. They're not so stuck on Chevy or Ford, or some are. It depends on your level. But most people don't know sheds that way.
Right.
They're just not that intimate with the idea of, and what happens is this both happens as an echo chamber inside of your organization, your company, but it also happens inside of an echo chamber of the B2B nationwide as a whole. The business to business model as a whole, we know other companies, so we judge them or select or have opinions about them. But you've got to get out of your echo chamber inside of your company and your echo chamber inside of the industry and get into the echo chamber of 300 million potential consumers.
Exactly.
And what do they see? And I would almost dare say, we've said it many times before, most people don't know of even a national brand of style of sheds. And this is really, you know, interesting, I would think, for you, because you've worked in franchising and what it takes to sort of build that out, you know, and that's not what we're doing here today. I'm having a conversation. I've entertained this idea for so long. How could we take Shed Geek into that area? Who knows? Here's the thing. We're super vulnerable. Maybe we'll try to go down that road one day. It's not today. We got too many other things to concentrate on. But for the companies that are already in it, the manufacturers that are already doing it, they're already trying to build that. What's your take on that? What's your overall position?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big lesson and the reason why franchising can work, and just as like a sidebar, like my kind of personal view of franchising is like whatever space you're in needs to be pretty darn cookie cutter. You need you need to be able to just I mean, a probably good exercise is just could you take the next 10 people that walk past this building, right, and just slide them into roles in that company? It's got to be, obviously at the top level, you're talking about accounting and management and stuff like that. I don't mean that, but it has to be super, super systematized.
Hello, Shed Industry. I wanted to share some exciting news about the upcoming Garage, Shed, and Carport Builder Trade Show in January in Greenville, South Carolina. Gary Boyle of Making Sales Simple will be delivering his impactful speech following the path to success on Wednesday, January 15th, 2025 at 9 a.m. This is a fantastic opportunity to hear Gary share practical strategies and insights that align perfectly with the Making Sales Simple philosophy. We'd also like for you to stop by our booth, number 106.
So what are your thoughts on even you're inside the echo chamber, basically, of your company? And I mean, me and Dylan talk about this all the time. How do we consult someone? If you got a bunch of consignment dealers and you got a bunch that, we are fragmented. You got some that are purchasing wholesale. Are they even franchising their own website, or are they even franchising their own Facebook accounts?
Right.
Yeah.
So, I think, I guess number one, from the bigger perspective, there is so much advantage to owning those assets, right? So, I mean, the thrust or the value in the franchise system, effectively what we're talking about is a system where you're handing down these business models, and then because of that, you are getting a whatever it might be, right? Shed Geek Paducah, and then there's a Shed Geek, right? You're getting that branded stamp with a locational marker, right? So obviously the assets and control of the assets and consistent branding and all those things you want, but really the thing that is best leveraged in that sort of franchise model is just the ability for the main brand, the franchisor, to have the heaviest kind of cost burden when it comes to all those branding activities. So, when I look out across the sort of shed landscape, and see that there are, and I don't even, I'm not deep enough in to want to in any way call out a particular company or this or that, but, let's say that company A has dealer X, right, in a certain town, and I know that dealer X, prefers to be Cords Sheds LLC, right? Yeah. Because for me, that allows me autonomy. It allows me the ability to sort of pick and choose what comes in. It allows me to brand myself as maybe Cords Sheds LLC. Yeah. We ain't just a Metropolis company, baby. Yeah. You know what I mean? We're going to Kentucky. To do our own thing. We're going to Tennessee. We're branding and I'm building my own thing. And I certainly understand that entrepreneurial spirit. But the biggest thing with the franchise model, or even just with that sort of top-down dealer model you see with a John Deere, right? I mean, that sort of the brands we were talking about earlier, is the ability of the franchisor or the big brand to shoulder the weight of these branding activities that we are talking about, right? It is a big weight for Cords Sheds LLC that currently has 3 locations in Metropolis, Paducah, and Grand Rivers or whatever to create enough revenue and enough margin and enough ad budget, right, to grow at the scale that really the sales, the consumer demand out there might be there, right? But you're going to have to put that spend in, and the biggest thing with franchising or those sort of really restrictive dealership agreements that you see in other industries is that what they're trading in autonomy, they are gaining in that
brand reputation.
That brand reputation that you kind of have to be.
I thought about this, a year ago. It was like, I don't know, can I eventually do something with the Shed Geek name? Even we thought about because we could leverage the marketing. You know what I mean? Particularly for brand recognition, like, hey, I don't build sheds, but hey, you don't do marketing.
Right.
Maybe we can
work together.
meet in the middle there.
Right.
And it's never come to fruition. I've even been accused of such, right? Like, he's trying to take your dealer market. And I'm like, I mean, I'm seriously not, but if I was getting into that area, I would just tell you, because guess where the best place to try to get people would be? Here on the podcast, right? Not trying to go, behind. But I mean, we're just not doing that. But that doesn't mean it's off the table. Just right now I don't see the value for me and them. It looks like such a hard place to pull together. It's not never. It's no. It's not never. It's no right now. I don't see. But like, we've had to think about this. It's like, man, you need brochures, you need SEO, you need websites, you need ads, you need banners, you need, brand recognition,
and you need to be willing. Even once you have all those assets created, like, you're going to have to hold those dealers to account, and like, it's hard. I mean, I came, like you said, HHO, we're a franchisor. In fact, I've helped to file the original, documents that you have to file to be registered as a franchisor. And so worked on all that from day one, and they're up to 17 now. But the other side of that is like, you just have to be willing to be restrictive and be tough on people and require that this is how you're going to.
What's a stamp? I mean, it's, McDonald's has a brand, it's a franchise. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like Ford has a brand. I mean, it's just, you have to maintain, because what happened, you're satisfying the needs of the other party involved by providing the value proposition that you bring to the table, essentially. Yep. And if you're not willing to do that, and that's why we've backed off, because it's kind of like, wait a minute, I don't know that we're there yet. We'd have to create this big website, this monster. How do you start asking for people for money without having to? I've seen other people do that, and I've seen them fail in this industry. Is like, we'll let the money that comes in build the product. And I'm like, that's going to be a stretch, guys.
Yeah, that's good.
I think you bring your value proposition to the table first, and you say, this is what we can do. And a lot of them are like, well, I want you to prove it. And you're like, can't prove a new concept.
Right.
There's where the risk comes in.
Right.
Can't prove something that hasn't happened yet or hasn't been done yet. But
hello, shed sellers. Let's take a moment to discuss the shed customer and meeting their expectations. I remember growing up in the neighborhood where a certain percentage of the houses had well-manicured lawns and well-manicured homes. These were the type of individuals who felt it was important to purchase a well-constructed home or vehicle, or maybe equipment, to help maintain the quality of the item. As shed manufacturers, we seek to provide a well-built quality shed. We want the customer to feel satisfied that their hard-earned money has been well spent on a product that will last. At LuxGuard, we believe adding high-quality rubber flooring to your line of sheds makes sense to the customer and adds value the customer can appreciate. With each year, sheds are becoming more complex. The customizations we are seeing are virtually endless. LuxGuard not only gives a complimentary aesthetic appearance for their shed, but also protects the floor from spills and keeps cleanup simple. Offer your customer the customer service they seek with LuxGuard. At LuxGuard, we are committed to delivering exceptional customer service and innovative products to help our customers achieve their goals. We strive to meet the evolving needs of the customers. To speak with one of our ready-to-serve customer product specialists, simply call 336-468-4311. To see our product and view an installation video, just visit our website at luxguard.com. LuxGuard, the floor that lasts a lifetime.
There's so many companies that we can just work with that's already like building their brand.
Yep.
And I think that's where this conversation turned into heavy branding, but because it's so valuable and it's so underutilized in the shed industry, the whole carport industry as well too.
Yeah.
I might add. Yeah. And that's, like the fact that we all know what a Suzuki and a Kawasaki, are, but ask yourself, do people actually know what the name of your company is? And that, how much harder does that get whenever you become a independent dealer?
Yeah.
To create that own brand. Matter of fact, if I were consulting today I can tell you exactly what I would consult. And people are like, well, you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. If I was consulting a company, I would say you need to be in control of your brand. So like if you have consignment lots underneath you, you could actually offer them more value, especially with SEO or
Big time.
The
digital asset value is
digital assets crazy. It's off the chains. Yeah, for sure. But if I were a consignment dealer, I would say, well, maintain your autonomy. Like, at the same time,
if you were consulting that same,
if you were
consulting them, then like that's the genuine business advice there, right? But if you look at it from, if
I look at it from the company's perspective and they got 90 dealers, I'm like, you need to wrap up underneath there. But if I'm consulting one individual and I'm like, well, what do you want to do? And they're like, well, I want to stay my brand. Cause like, what if I get away from selling this particular vendor's products? I'd be like, well, then you need to maintain autonomy on that. And we see the value in the first for the company. But I mean, how can you, as a consignment dealer, how can you ask for more? They dump $100,000 worth of free inventory on your lot. Now we're going to ask them to bring you all the leads. What's next? You're going to ask them to sell for you. After a while, they don't need you.
Right. Yeah. You're exactly,
I mean, they're going to, that's why they're going to create digital marketplaces and digital dealers. And I'm not saying they will. I'm not saying there are those that you shouldn't be in a panic or anything like that. Listen, if there's anything I know about this industry, it's like the manufacturers that I've seen do consignment, they are way crazy loyal to their dealer network,
right?
To the point to where they're like concerned that even if they could go and like obtain those sales, they choose to give those sales ultimately to their dealers as a commitment to their dealer network. It's actually kind of amazing because if you were in a different industry, it's not happening.
Oh, well, I mean, you see it in cars right now, right?
Bad.
I mean, like cars at the moment, I mean, the manufacturers will 100% just like sell into
you out. Yes.
Yeah. Somebody custom orders a car, they're shipping that thing from Detroit. It's landed in your driveway and your local dealership is getting not a red cent off of it. Right. Like they're cannibalizing themselves right now. So, yes, I mean, we're just kind of having a conversation, not necessarily
if you don't
suggesting.
talk like these things out loud, if you don't even like have the conversation about them, it's like you're hiding something or whatever.
Right.
And I'm like, no, man, just have the conversation. Matter of fact, I did find a branding expert to come on here one time before, and I'd love to do more of that. But you're a branding expert. So,
I've worked with a bunch of them at this point, and grown some good businesses. I don't think of myself as an expert, but I think that's,
that sounds like something an expert would say.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I work really hard. You know what I mean? Yeah. I work really hard. I try to think everything through and then execute as well as possible. And in most cases, that's worked out really well in my career thus far. And
you're good at what you do, man. I'm looking forward to many more of these conversations. I'd like to know the industry's opinion on these episodes because, we want to do more dialogue internally. Why Shed Geek Marketing? Well, a lot of the digital presence starts there for us. I mean, let's just call it what it is. Right. I mean, whenever people are like, yeah, but you're really talking about Shed Geek Marketing to help yourself. You're like, of course we are, but we're not negating the idea of helping you, Mr. Customer. You know what I mean? Like we're giving you free information if you're listening today.
Oh yeah. And a lot of it is like, I mean, it's philosophical.
It is.
It really is like philosophical to, I mean, if we left out the philosophy of how to, generate leads, how to talk to your customers, how to make those processes more efficient, how to sell, how to nurture your customers after the sale, right? How to, in the finance world, how to try and make all those contracts, pay out to 5 years, right? Like if we're talking, how do you communicate with people to make that those contracts even more valuable because a higher percentage, right? I mean, if we're not talking about these things, then we're not talking about the industry.
Yeah.
Honestly,
it's just not real life. At some point you can become so watered down that you're afraid to step on anybody's toes. So you don't talk about nothing,
right? Because
someone can always be offended. And trust me, we're in a culture right now of offense.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm offended over everything. And it's like, because you choose to be,
right.
But not because someone's offending you. It's because you choose to be.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm just at a place to where I'm kind of like, even difficult conversations need to be recorded, need to be talked about, and like challenged.
Yeah.
For the love of God, all I can say is like challenge my positions. But raise your argument, not your voice.
Yes.
Raise your argument, because like when you do that, I get better too. Because all of a sudden I'll think through these things different, or I'll get exposure to something I didn't know before. That's what education and knowledge is. So please, by all means, when you disagree, come on and disagree with me.
Right.
Like, well, you know what I mean? Let's do it where it makes valuable conversation.
If people in the industry think that you or me or whatever, I mean, I'm new to this, right? So, I mean, I can totally be wrong, and like, I will eat it, right? But like, people in the industry, think that the sort of philosophical or ideological kind of how this thing is shaping up, think that we're wrong about it. Like, let's talk about it. Like, for real, let's talk about it, because like, this is an industry that is only accelerating, is only going to continue to become more consumer friendly, more online. Like, they're going to have to move with those consumer trends. So like, if you feel like we're off path here, like, let's talk about it, because these are big macro trends.
That's right.
And working through them as an industry, right, is going to make everybody maximally successsul.
And it's fun. You know what I mean? Like, Cord, at the end of the day, we have fun, because like sometimes we'll just take a whole different approach to, and that's conversation. And that's what I want to do. Right. I want to do more of these, more with you, more with Dylan, more with Wyatt, more monologues, dialogues with others, people in the rent-to-own side, even our rent-to-own, our finance, whatever we're up to, we want to have those conversations, and we want to have it even with those that we may end up competing with, or whatever it looks like. I love communication. I love conversation, and I love being able to like pick it apart. And for those of you who find this entertaining, God bless you. God bless you. I was listening to talk radio from the time I was 8 years old. So people thought I was weird. My wife especially. You know what I mean? Yeah. She's like, "What are you listening to this stuff for?" And I'm like, it's so entertaining.
Yeah.
It's compelling to me because it feeds that's the way my mind works. I want to be fed.
Yeah.
So like, I love this political talk, this religious talk, this business talk, all the stuff that we did. So
all the stuff that has nuance and perspective and right. And, 15 people can disagree in completely different ways, and it's awesome.
If your eyes glaze over, I get it. It's not for you.
Well, I think if they've made it to 400 and whatever the episode count or whatever the interview count is now, surely all the glazed over eyes have already left.
It's all about content, baby. Right. Content.
Right.
Give people something exciting to think about and listen to. And, they should be, we go on a whole nother, we're going to get off of here, but we can go down a whole nother rabbit trail of like why you should be putting content out to your potential customer,
right?
Whether it be through a podcast, YouTube videos, some kind of presence in front of people to build your own trusted value to your Mr. Consumer. That way, when they come in, they know who to ask for.
Yep.
Already. You talking about Cord? You talking about the guy with the beard?
Yep.
Wears the glasses, curly hair? I see his videos all the time. Dude looks awesome. Would love to talk to him.
50% higher close rate. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and again, like that's what we're like, that's the point.
Yeah.
Like, let's get to anyway.
You just got to get through your uncomfortableness, and some people aren't going to do that. So guess what? That's why you have an agency out there putting their value proposition.
That's right.
Hanging a shingle and saying, pick me, choose me.
Right. Cord at shedgeek.com.
There you go. I appreciate you being on today. There's many, many, many more conversations.
Absolutely.
Over the next year. So appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Shannon.
Yep.
Bye.
Hey, this is Mo Lunsford here at the Union Grove Lumber Studios, and we look forward to a prosperous and a safe new year. And don't forget, listen to the Shed Geek.